Hamas and other terror groups launched some 460 rockets at Israel over a 24-hour period. Israel responded with some 150 airstrikes on military targets in Gaza. Addressing the UN, Israel's representative Danon played the red alert sign that Israelis hear.
We will continue to take any measure necessary to protect our people. Regarding the future, our approach is very clear. If it will not be quiet in Israel, it will not be quiet in Gaza. And I think the Hamas leaders know exactly what are the capabilities of the Israeli IDF, and they know we can get to them even if they hide beneath tunnels and beneath hospitals.
Israelis and Gazans had different reactions to the ceasefire. Gazans mounted a huge victory rally in the streets, but Israelis in that area was attacked were furious, saying they're being treated like second-class citizens. And you can see joining us now is CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell with more on this story. So, Chris, how could the resignation of Israel's defense minister lead to early elections? And could those elections throw Benjamin Netanyahu out of office?
Well, Ephraim, that certainly is a potential, and it's really been quite a roller coaster here in the last 24, 48 hours. We went from the brink of war now to the possible collapse of the Benjamin Netanyahu government. It's really a question of math, Ephraim. Right now, Netanyahu's government has 66 seats. Lieberman coming out of the government takes his 5 seats. That goes down to 61 seats out of the 120-seat Knesset. So they really has the slimmest of margins. Netanyahu has been threatening, actually, that he could go to new elections. He can call elections if he will. And right now, previous to the conflict with Hamas in the last few days, polls look very good for him, but I don't know what's going to happen after this latest ceasefire. Lieberman's contention is really a microcosm of really the debate within Israel right now, whether or not it was a surrender to terrorism by having the ceasefire.
So why do you think there was a ceasefire, Chris, instead of war?
Well, I think the calculations, it was a military calculations. I think the heads of the IDF, the Shin Bet, the Mossad was saying, don't go to war right now. It's too messy. I think the main question about Gaza, Ephraim, is what happens if you go in militarily, if you defeat Hamas? Who's going to rule Hamas after that? Certainly Israel doesn't want to do that. Egypt doesn't want to do that. The Palestinian Authority doesn't want to do that. So really, that's the main question with Gaza. So sometimes the calculation is let's live with a ceasefire temporarily and just manage the situation and try to actually take over Gaza militarily.
We know you've been following this attack throughout the last few days. Can you tell us what it was like to be there in that apartment that took a direct hit?
Yeah, we were there. We had a story on that yesterday, and we were there in the very kitchen where they took a direct hit, and it really does make it personal. When you see kitchen cupboards filled with cookies, when you see a kitchen table that was destroyed, knowing that 24 hours before that, somebody was sitting there, and actually, tragically, they lost their lives. 2 women were seriously injured. When we were there, the neighbor next door was collecting her belongings, and we found out all the toys of her children were destroyed in that attack. If you look through the whole building, almost the whole building is uninhabitable right now because the concussion really destroyed many of the things in that building. So it really took it to a personal level. When you hear somebody died, but when you see actually that site, we actually saw blood on the floor as well. It makes it much more personal.
Indeed. Tell us what it's like for Israelis living close to the border. Why do they call themselves second-class citizens?
Well, I'll give you an example, Ephraim. When we were down there for several hours, and we realized at any time there could be a rocket attack. We drove without our seatbelts because we knew that if we had to stop, we had to get out quickly, lay beside the car. Imagine doing that for 15 years. That's what some of these people in the south of Israel have been living with. And that's why they call themselves second-class citizens, because they don't believe that the government right now is taking care of them and giving them the security they feel they deserve. And it goes back to that political calculation of Netanyahu. You know, does he go in militarily, take over Gaza? Right now, his calculation is no. But certainly that leaves these citizens in southern Israel, more than 1 million, under the threat of rocket attack at any time.
All right, Chris Mitchell, thank you so much for that report from Jerusalem. Stay safe. We appreciate you following this story for us.